I am Dr. Onimisi Hassan, and I will be your instructor for this module. Hello, welcome to Module 5, Fish and Aquaculture Production. I am Dr. Onimisi Hassan, and I will be your instructor for this module. Today we will be considering fish and aquaculture production. Before we delve into the details, I will need us to think about this in two ways. There is fish culture and there is aquaculture. Fish culture is a form of aquaculture, while aquaculture is the culture of all aquatic animals, including, but not only fish. You are probably wondering, what then is culture? We certainly can't be referring to culture as we know it from social studies. You are right, we are not. Culture in this sense is biological, but equally simple. Think about it as farming. Yes, fish farming or any form of farming of aquatic animals. What then is fish culture? This is essentially the controlled cultivation and harvesting of fish for either personal or commercial purposes. How is fish cultured? Fish can be cultured in a variety of ways: in marine water, in brackish water, that is sea water and fresh water, or fresh water, like rivers, streams, and lakes in the inland water bodies. I'm sure we can guess what the most cultured fish species are in Nigeria. The usual suspect for our soups, stews, and finger foods are African catfish and tilapia. The fish culture can take two forms. If it is only one type of fish that is being cultured, then we have a monoculture. If there are two or more species of fish, then we have polyculture. Now that we understand the idea of culturing, let's consider the management of these cultures. Remember, we said culturing is essentially the cultivation of the fish or fishes, right? So what then is management? Management involves the system that are put in place to see that the fish or fishes, in the case of a polyculture, polyaquatic culture, are productive. I will encourage you to have some of these questions using this analogy in mind when thinking about systems. FFMY, that is feeding. How do the fish feed? Is there a human effort involved in their feeding? Are they given food supplements? Facilities. What facilities are used for culturing the fish? Is there a cage, concrete, tanks, and list is endless. Monitoring. Is there any method in place to monitor the health and water quality? Yield. What is the fish yield like? Is it high, medium, or low? As we will see, there is a correlation between FFM and the Y. Now the systems, there are largely three types of management systems. We will consider each of them using our acronym FFMY, the extensive system. We can classify this as an easy method. The F, feeding. The feeding here are entirely dependent on natural productivity. The F, feeding. The fish here are entirely dependent on natural productivity, and there is very little or no external feeds. Essentially, there is no deliberate human effort involved here. F, facilities. There are no man-made facilities used here. There is the system that exists in the natural ponds and rivers we see around us. M, monitoring. As you can probably guess, there is no deliberate effort to monitor the fish or water quality. Y, the yield here is very low. Now, the semi-intensive system, the F, feeding. In this system, there is a lot of human effort involved. Food supplements, which are concentrated sources of nutrients, usually in the form of pellets, form a major part of this system. F, facilities. There are culture facilities here which are used to manage the fish. The facilities include earthen ponds, concrete ponds, plastic tanks, and fiber tanks. M, which is the monitoring. The water quality and fish health are occasionally monitored. Y, the yield. The fish yield is high in this system. Next is the intensive system. As you can rightly guess, this is the same method as the semi-intensive, but the fish grows at a faster rate. The F feeding in this system, food supplements, water quality monitoring and health management are standard and routine management practices. Facilities, that is the F, the management system, and as a result, the facilities are very diverse. Some of the facilities are cages, pens for water-based system, rain-fed ponds and tanks for land-based system aquaculture, and irrigation ponds for integrated farming system. The many facilities and systems applicable here, you will find more in the supplementary resources provided. M, monitoring. The water quality and fish health are occasionally monitored, while the fish yield here is at the highest. Now we have considered the management systems. Let's now look at the type of aquaculture production systems. We will consider 4 types: the pond culture, cage culture, recirculatory aquaculture system, and the flow-through system. In considering the different cultures, there are 3 primary things to bear in mind: the nature of the storage, how flexible or rigid is it? Secondly, the use. Is it suitable for commercial or personal use? And finally, the water. What type of water and how often does it need to be changed? First, the pond culture. What really is the pond culture? Pond aquaculture is the use of earthen ponds with or without drainage. What really is the pond culture? Pond aquaculture is the use of earthen ponds with or without drainage infrastructure incorporated to grow fish. How is it used? It is the most widely used structure for commercial aquaculture production. Ponds for aquaculture production are generally static with limited water exchange, but can be modified for suitable use. The form. Ponds include earthen ponds, reservoirs, dams, burrow pits, concrete ponds, structures, amongst others. Finally, the water and drainage. A pond structure may be drainable or non-drainable. Now, cage culture. As the name implies or suggests, cage culture is an aquaculture production system where fish are held in floating net pens. The use. Cages are widely used in commercial aquaculture. The form. Individual cage units come in all shapes and sizes and can be tailored to suit individual farmers' needs. Last but certainly not the least, the water. Cages can be used in both freshwater and marine environments with adequate security to prevent losses into the high tides and poaching. The next is the recirculating aquaculture system. The water. The circulating aquaculture system, otherwise known as RAS, have limited water exchange, typically up to 10% per day, and it reuses the culture water. You are probably thinking, how then is this maintained? Mechanically and biologically, water treatment is used to maintain water quality. The RAS generally requires less area and water than conventional aquaculture, allows higher stocking density, and provide greater control over the culture environment. The RAS may provide a biosecure environment. Species grown using the recirculating aquaculture system include African catfish. Now the next is the flow-through system. The use. Flow-through systems are generally used for the intensive production of fish. They are of different forms. A flow-through system may include earthen pond, tanks, or raceways. They require considerable quantity of water to be pumped or gravity fed from an adjacent waterway, usually rivers or streams. Environment. Pass through the earthen pond, tanks, or raceway, and then discharge back into the source environment with little or no treatment. We have now come to an end of this unit. I hope you have found it helpful. Please refer to your teaching manual for a more in-depth understanding of this unit. Thank you.